Greetings, Roncalli family and friends, and welcome to the 34th edition of A Few Minutes with the President. One word that has been synonymous with Roncalli for many years is tradition. Specifically, the tradition that has been passed on for generations of family members attending Roncalli or one of our predecessor Southside Catholic high schools. I'm excited to have with me today members of the Balman family, whose roots trace back 4 generations to the Sacred Heart class of 1926. Let's begin with Ray and Diana Balman, graduates of Chartres in 1967 and 69 respectively. Tell us about your parents and their affiliation with Southside Catholic education.
Yeah, a long time ago. They were brought up Catholic from grade school to high school, lived on the South Side, worked on the South Side, went to church at St. James. She actually went to St. Catherine's, so our grandparents lived on Kelly Street right across from the Suitings lived on Kelly Street across from St. Catherine, so it was all on the South Side Sacred Heart relationship.
As you look back over those generations, is there a common thread that maybe runs through the generations from 1920s all the way to the 2020s?
I think it's just the stability of the Catholic education that's there for the kids, there for their education, their upbringing, their Catholic education, a Catholic background. We went to church every day in grade school. I'm sure my parents probably did too. So it's just the Catholic Mass, the Catholic education, all weaved together in a great school.
Do you have a favorite memory that you can recall as a student at Chartres in the 60s, or as a parent or as a grandparent?
Well, being in class with Ray.
Yeah.
That was in a biology class.
Yeah.
And here we are, 53 years later.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Next, we welcome Doug and Julie Balman, both 1995 graduates of Roncalli. First, I'm curious, was there any option for you guys when you were in 8th grade considering a high school?
When Mom and Dad went to Chartres and Grandma and Grandpa went to Sacred Heart, I feel like red, white, and blue is running through my veins. I knew as a little kid I wanted to go to Roncalli.
Doug, did you know your grandparents from Sacred Heart? And if so, what type of experience did you have in talking to them about their experience at Sacred Heart and your experience at Roncalli?
I remember Grandma talking about daily Mass. My dad mentioned daily Mass. She mentioned that a lot. She mentioned how just different the times were, even as a high school kid in the 90s, how different the times were, that cars weren't a thing, how different the South Side looked. St. Roch was far South Side, and that was kind of the farms back then, and now looking at the landscape now, it's changed a lot for sure.
As you guys look at your own experience, having spoken to your grandparents and parents, and now your experience as parents yourselves, are there 3 or 4 words that you think are common denominators over those last 100 years of Catholic education?
I would say sacrifice, dedication, and service to others for sure.
Great.
I would add the word family to that. As someone who came to the South Side without a huge, it's not my family was smaller, but when you're at Roncalli, you're part of a bigger family, and the connections that you makes it feel like you've got just this extension of your own family.
Great. The 4th generation of Balmans are with us here today. Lily is a senior, Betsy is a sophomore, Annie is a 23 graduate and is now at Marian University. Girls, welcome to our video. And does being a 4th generation member of Roncalli, Sacred Heart, Chartres, does that have any special significance for each of you?
Yes, for sure. Being a 4th generation, it's so cool to be able to realize the legacy that I'm bringing, not only being like my own individual in this school, but carrying a name with me. And I think upholding that name is a really cool tradition that I get to carry as I'm making my own memories and making my own experience at Roncalli. It's really cool to add to the story that's already been here for so many years.
Any good, funny stories that you've heard from your parents or grandparents that they've shared with you through the years?
I've heard so many stories from my parents and grandparents. All the stories of games that my dad and all my uncles, I feel like they've been a part of every sport. And so lots of stories and all the dances, and having my parents and grandparents meet here. I've heard some really like fun stories of just like going to prom and like all the dress up days for homecoming and stuff like that.
Girls, as you look back and maybe had heard from your parents and grandparents, is there a common thread that you can associate between what you've heard from them and your own experience at Roncalli?
My dad kept talking about how faith is throughout Roncalli, like in our everyday school day, and I like see that during the day and how faith is like always a constant, even if everything else is changing.
I think it's been, as Lily wrote, a great legacy to the Balman name family. Ray and I, as parents, going to Sacred Heart, Ray and I graduated from Chartres, and our sons, we have 5 boys, and 4 graduated from Roncalli, and now we have grandchildren that are at Roncalli. 1 graduated a couple years ago. We have 3 here now, and 3 more coming up. So, it's just awesome to have Roncalli as our central school. Catholic education is very important. And I think we've talked about how Ray's mother graduated in 1926, and Hayden, the one that's a junior now, will graduate almost 100 years to the day of graduating, of when his great-grandmother graduated.
That's just so awesome. Thank you again to these 3 generations of the Balman family that have joined us here today. A pleasure being with you, a pleasure having you here, and a pleasure hearing the stories that date back to the 1920s. As we were doing our homework, we couldn't locate any 5th-generation families, so if you're out there, I'd please ask, let us know if you do have a 5th-generation family. We couldn't find any, but if they exist, we'd sure like to know about them. Speaking of tradition, Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and it is certainly a holiday filled with traditions for most families. I'll be praying that God blesses all of you, along with your families and loved ones, with a safe, happy, and joyful celebration. As always, thank you to all of you who support Roncalli through your gifts of time, talent, treasure, and prayer. God bless you. Go Royals, and St. John the 23rd, pray for us.